market crashes, that is when people who can't afford, shouldn't afford, and overbought have to sell and have to unload. You have desperate sellers and you have diligent, patient, cash on hand buyers. You can get one opportunity after another.
Welcome to The Remix, the video podcast that keeps you in the mix of everything real estate. I'm Noelle Frieson
and I'm Eric Anderson, and today we're going to talk about how to recession-proof your real estate investment business. We have so many exciting things to talk about. We're going to hit different aspects of where to go, what to do, how to do it. Introduce our panel, Noelle.
So, as always, we have our power panel. We have Omar Sharif. He is our flipping and investing expert.
And developer.
And developer now.
Oh,
yes,
no.
developer.
Yo. Hold on. You gotta finish your development to be a developer?
No. Guys, they broke ground. I see the, is it excavator? That's what it's called, right?
Bulldozer?
Whatever it is, I
Bulldozer.
see the digger
It's
thing.
a hoe.
And they
I'm not wrong,
ground,
am I? Is it called? Is it a hoe?
And we're gonna have a huge building being built, so that's exciting.
By
We
a hoe.
have Nima Mary. He is our legal eagle. He is the managing partner of the Mary Law Firm. And we have our special guest who's now a regular. You are like
I'm not a guest anymore.
You're not a guest.
Damn,
I'm
Daniel.
part of the family.
You are part of the family. We have Danny Gonzalez
yeah.
from Danny Builds Homes. He is our construction consultant, and he's part of the family. He can go into the fridge at any time.
The moment
I've been there.
The
I've
moment
been there.
Danny told us that people poop in compound buckets,
Oh, God.
we knew that he
Let's
had
not
to
go
be
back
in
to
forever.
that episode.
I mean, that could be a
and
way
hide
to
it. And they hide it.
That could be a way to save money, though,
By fertilizing your
by
trees.
not having a
Okay,
portage
let's
on. But anyway, all right. So,
Get on topic, Eric.
how to recession-proof your real estate business?
go.
Very important question. Today, everybody thinks a recession is coming. We all know that Nima's been preaching recession for the last 6 months.
You've
but
been blowing up on the internet.
now Nima has put it into the air, and now it is here. So, how do you recession-proof your real estate investment business?
First, I want to ask, should you be going into real estate investment during or at the beginning of a recession?
You should always be going into real estate investment. That's
Why?
what we do. Why? Because that's where the most people have success.
Guys,
I'd
that was
say
such
majority.
a steep, substantive answer. Holy shit, my world just changed.
So,
There you go. I'm glad. So we're gonna get into why.
Okay.
We're gonna get into why. But first, why is real estate a good investment in the recession?
that's what I just
what you
asked. Is that what I just
All
said?
right. So
fight.
I think it's a good real estate. Why is it a good investment in a recession? Is because it doesn't fluctuate the way stocks do. That's my opinion.
No, but it's not correlated to stocks either. Like, if stocks are going crazy, your real estate is not. Okay, why
Why do you think that?
Oh, no, I just have something stuck in my throat.
Why are you the buzzer?
No, I'm not. I just thought it would be funny to do that while you guys were talking.
Oh, it wasn't funny.
Everybody else seemed to laugh.
So anyway, why is real estate a good investment during a recession? Because it's a great way to predict where your money is, in my opinion, where your money is going to be. When I buy something, I can predict the value of it. I can hold the value based on what kind of tenants I have. I can increase the value based on what I do to the property. When you buy a stock or something like that, you don't really have control over it.
Eric, why do you love a recession in real estate? Tell me why you love it.
Why do I love it?
What'd you say? What's the first thing that pops in?
Because it brings opportunities.
Okay, so what he's saying is the PG version of a culling. It is a culling for all the
culling?
Like
all,
the purge.
all the fakers who in the last couple of years who ride a high market and make money and don't know what they're doing. This is prime time. It is a culling. It is for those of you who know what you're doing, who've researched, who've learned, and who've put in the hard work. You will grow your crops and be bountiful, right? Praise the word.
Praise the Lord. Praise the real estate God.
You all wait for the market to skyrocket.
Right.
And that's when you're like, money making time, no. The rest of us sit and we wait for now. We wait for the culling. We wait for the crash, right? We wait for the tsunami. All the best surfers, all the biggest surfers want the big waves. And the crash that is coming is a prime opportunity. Every day in the last 2 years, I wake up with regret. And that is
Why?
that I no longer live in the economic crisis of 2008.
Yeah.
right?
Was that a good time for you guys? Well, you were young.
If you have
were
money,
like in diapers.
if you had money, it was a
Not
good
really.
time.
Well,
It was
let's
the same
finish
age.
that point because we could have made it a reel. All right. During the 2008 cycle, right, when the market crashes, that is when people who can't afford, shouldn't afford, and overbought have to sell and have to unload. You have desperate sellers and you have diligent, patient, cash on hand buyers. You can get one opportunity after another.
Yes.
Because people panic, people want to sell, they want to hold. When the market is high, they know some Dumbo's going to come buy the property. They know some idiot's going to overpay. They start dictating prices that don't justify or exist. But what happens is the market collapses, it crashes. And Noelle, to your point, it does crash when the stock market crashes. It is linked to the stock market. To Eric's point, it does actually fluctuate. Not as much as the stock market. You're not going to see 30% drops, but it fluctuates. Why? Because Mom Joanne, Bob Joe, could be Mom Joe, could be 2022. Who knows, right? But at the end of the day, when your 401k goes to shit because you thought that was an amazing way to invest your money, when your retirement plan goes bye-bye, when your savings are gone, you're not looking to buy a place, you don't have money to buy a place, you may have to sell your house because your mortgage is high, you lost your job and you don't have any savings because you went and bought an overpriced place the last 2 years. So when the stock market falls, a majority of people who are not wise investors lose a lot of money, right? And they begin downsizing. And that's where people like myself, Danny, you, Noelle, Omar,
Or anyone.
right? Anyone who's strategically predatory in nature will come.
You don't have to be predatory in nature. You just have to be out there looking for opportunities.
That's called predatory, right?
I also think
Is
that
a hawk
when-
goes out
when-
looking for opportunities to eat the same way you're looking for opportunities to buy. You're a predator,
Okay,
Eric.
there you
Just
go.
concede that you are a predator. Embrace
You have to be
predatory.
open to real estate, open to opportunities.
Just
If
the
you're
way that
open
the
to
eagle is
opportunities,
open
they
to a
come
mouse.
out during a
When we
recession.
say
Going
that
for a
there's
walk.
not a correlation to stocks, though. Let's say you have a building; it's fully rented. You have it. You're doing it. That's your investment. If stocks are going crazy, there's nothing happening to that. Your rents are being paid. You have it.
Sure, if you have a stabilized property that you're
Yes.
not living in. Correct.
Right.
But we're
Or
talking
even
about
if you're house hacking and living in it, and people are living upstairs, it's even better.
correct. Or alternatively, there could be a scenario where stock market crashes, you lose your 401k to your point, but you're totally fine because of the way you have set up.
Exactly.
So we're talking about the general concept of a collapse in a market reduces the amount of money in the market.
Yes, and we're
right?
talking about today about your real estate investment business. So we're not talking about your single family home. We know that the prices of that fluctuate a lot more
Most
than
of our
most
watchers
investments
are 2,
do.
3 family homes. They're not out here with 50 units, or they wouldn't be watching. Our
But they're not
podcast.
building.
But the point
a
is
big
that
building.
why having investment properties is it's a good time to increase that, and why it's good to have that, and how that doesn't relate to the stock
An
market.
investment is an irrelevant figure. It is a bank. Your money is in the bank. You get interest on your money. That is called your return on your investment, ROI, right? So if you have $100,000 in a project and you bought it like an intelligent person because you watched our podcast and it has a cap rate, you know you're making anywhere from say 5 to 12% a year on your money. That is money that just comes to you and your money is locked. Right? Now, can you withdraw your money? Not the same way you would otherwise.
Right.
If you bought right, like I keep telling you all to do, but you probably still don't. If you buy right and you make your money on the buy, ultimately your money is safe because even in a shit economy, you'll still be able to unload. But if you didn't buy right and your property's gone down in value 10, 20%, you still may take a 10, 20% hit. But if you think about it, if you're making 10% on your money and you've done that for 2 years, you're at net zero, so you really have no loss. But if you're not, you hold. You let the money sit because real estate always goes back up.
Yes.
Because like every other cycle, real estate goes up and it goes down. You ride the wave. But as long as you're paying and you're debt servicing and you're collecting rent and you're making money on it, you'll always be collecting a revenue like a business. You just don't sell your business. You just sit and you patiently wait until you get a divorce or something horrible happens. And you
my
call
God.
me and I'll buy your property.
And if you
on
have
the cheap.
rents that are paying you $10,000 a month during a good time, they're probably still going to pay you $10,000 a month.
Rent doesn't go
during
down,
a bad
guys.
time. It usually stays the same.
No landlord says, "Hey, I'm going to lower my rent." It just doesn't happen. We are in a unique circumstance, everyone. We cannot explain what's going to happen. Anyone who tries to tell you is a liar. These bullshit podcasts or Instagram reels you guys watch where they're like, the
Like
market's
ours?
going to do this. It's not bullshit. It's
Ours
all
is real.
No, they're
Ours is
guys.
real.
If they're wearing an Izod shirt talking to you about how to make millions of dollars, next, right? The reality
wearing an Izod
is we don't know what the hell's going to happen because for the first time in our lives, we had over, I think, 70% of the population lock in long-term mortgages under 3%. So you're not going to have people who are going to get desperate and unload because they're locked in at sub 3%. People went nuts refinancing over the last couple of years. So the normal metrics we're talking about a collapse in real estate may not happen. You may not have buyers, right, because interests are so high. But you won't have a lot of sellers unloading either because they have cheap institutional money that they're locked in for. So we really can't guess what's going to happen.
Right.
But what we do know is that for people like us, right, not predators, but people who look for opportunity amongst
Opportunist?
no, people who find the weak and the hungry and then
People looking
We're not
to grow their
predators.
investment business.
yeah, right?
Yes.
With people who need to sell desperately, but we're not predators, right? There will always be ultimately people who will want to sell cheap. So you keep your eyes open, you stay alert, you stay attentive, and when you see an opportunity, you jump on it.
Yes.
Not like a bird of prey, because we're not predators.
It may not be that they want to sell cheap. It may be that they want to move on with their life, or they're
Right.
retiring to Florida. They want to
Or
move,
they've
or they're
gotten a divorce, like you
they're
said.
older. They
Right.
can't handle investment. And
Nobody
they want
wants to
move
sell
it.
cheap.
So
It's your job to get it
it's,
cheap.
There are
it's people that
still
want
want
to
to sell.
to make a change, and there are times when you can take advantage of that.
Danny, you do
I-
construction consulting.
Are you a predator too?
Absolutely.
Oh,
No,
God.
No, but I get what he
table.
says. People are not, I look at things different, with the market. If I got it at this price, and let's say, for example, the going rate for the house is 500, but I'm all in cheap, and I could let it go for 470. I'm gonna let it go for 470. I'm not gonna shoot for that higher number.
yeah.
Because I just work on what my numbers are, not what the current market.
Because you made
is.
money on the what?
On the buy.
I
that's
like
what-
the
no,
buy.
but that's So.
But have
Sorry,
you
you're
seen your clients, your construction clients, or your flipping clients, or your investing clients? Has it shrunk since people have been talking?
no.
I don't know if
So-
we're in a recession, but they've been talking about it.
Well, this is the thing. Anytime someone comes to see me, I let them know exactly how the market is now, and I give them, like you said, not bull, Instagram and the reels and everything else. I let people know there's not much out here right now. But I guess people are they're still hungry for that information.
Sure.
So they're still coming. We're giving them the right advice, and I'm letting everybody know what it actually costs and everything else. But we also let them know there's not much out here, and they see it for themselves.
Are you beginning to drop your costs, like your bid on a project? Are you now going lower because you think that there's less demand has gone down?
No, I don't do projects.
But are you
I
seeing?
mean, for
Are
myself,
you
yeah.
seeing it? Are you seeing your?
Oh no! So no, this is the thing. What I'm seeing is a decrease in good contractors.
So contractors
So
actually getting out of the
contractors'
business.
price. There's no more negotiations. You know how back then it's like, hey, $3, no, $250 a square foot. All right, we'll agree on $275. Now it's the price is the price.
They're
'cause
gonna
if
be
you're-
cold,
Oh
most
yeah.
people.
But you're getting, let's say you're getting a good contractor, it's worth the money. Because you
Right,
figure
no,
your
we got
nickel and
that.
dime.
So you don't see any contractors looking for business as of yet.
Oh no, I think they're actually over busy right now.
Really,
Because
still
there's a shortage
overbusy.
of them. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So guys are the most complaints I'm getting is I don't understand how contractors don't want to make money. Because people call a contractor, regardless, sometimes it's a
'Cause they're
smaller
busy.
job, they're busy. But they should tell the people, hey, I'm really busy and I can't get to this for about 2 months. Instead of trying to persuade them and say, oh, well,
Sure.
you know what, maybe this week, I'll give you a call this week. Just tell them the truth. Just say, hey, I'm busy. I'm pretty sure you too. If a client comes to see you and you can't see him, or have a trial for a month, I really can't do anything. You let
Yeah,
them know.
yeah, I do that
have a
now.
trial.
So we all
Instead
agree-
of trying to, because they
Like,
don't
I'm
want to
not pissed
let the
off.
business walk away. So they're kind of babysitting it. But I just think,
And they hurt themselves by doing that.
absolutely, because
And
it
some
makes
clients
them,
will stay. If your work is good,
Oh, absolutely.
So we all agree that real estate is still a good investment in a recession. People still need housing.
Everyone's always going to need housing.
Yeah, and the recession creates bargains. We've done that. So
It may not this time around though.
It may not, but typically it does.
It should 99% of
It
the
should.
time.
So we're not sure what percentage Nima's going to come up with. We'll have that for you next week.
16.489. Because none of you can fact check me.
So let's go. Let's
Call me
say
Fox.
we're in a recession, right? So what are the best types of real estate to buy in a recession.
Dead people's homes who have a bunch of kids.
Omar, what are your thoughts
No,
on that?
that
Any
makes
market.
sense,
But that's
though,
in
right?
any
Is that
market.
you're being direct towards?
Yeah.
Because all they want is the money. You got
Greedy.
greedy.
But that's
Dead people's
I've
homes,
seen-
and they have a lot
well,
of
the,
kids.
the legal term is probate, right, Nima?
It's dead people's homes with a lot of kids.
So should we be going to funeral parlors and knocking on doors?
I actually know
Do you
someone
read the
back in the day who
obits?
did that.
Really?
Yeah, back in the day, I knew someone
No
who would
way.
do that. Yeah,
Go
Do you
to
read the
funeral.
obits?
yeah, I
People
knew
do
someone who
that.
did that.
People do
He had this idea when he was 16 years old.
So he went to people's funeral parlors
No, they would just read the obituaries in the newspaper.
and go to
then
their
look up
houses.
the names and
but
the
just
addresses.
the people were dead at the house.
Right, but
No,
it
they would
says
send a
they are
letter.
survived by Bill, Joe, Susan, John, and and 16 grandchildren.
Just send it to the house saying, "Hey, we'll buy a house cash for cash."
Yeah.
Listen, when there's four
the
people,
realtors
they don't
get
give a
in.
shit about $20,000 difference if you're a cash offer because it's only $5,000 to each of them. They'd
Yeah.
rather sell, be done, and do no work on it, right?
Ideally, I've dealt with probates, and what happens a lot of times is you'd be lucky if the heirs all get along. Some of them are in different states.
Which they'll force to sell.
Yeah.
Right?
So it helps in some cases.
So Omar, how did you get those probate listings?
So I didn't
Omar
focus
pulls
on
out his gun. He's like, I create them for myself. We call opportunity creators Omar.
So I've dealt with probates. I've looked into it. I didn't focus on it much, and it's a market that's always there. It's not recession proof. It's not just for recessions, but you find them by digging for them, like anything else. So if you want to focus on
Pun
probates,
intended?
so I won't get into the details of how to find probates. It's a podcast of its own. But once you find them, you have to make sure that the house is still vacant. You have to contact the people who would inherit it, the people who are next in line. And this entire process that takes a long time to figure out how
So
to
is-
get to these people.
I'm assuming though, if you're looking for dead people's houses, then divorce houses too, because the recession brings money problems. Money problems bring tension between couples.
True, but the thing with
and boom,
recessions,
you're divorced.
But keep in mind, these topics are not for recessions; they're for every market, right?
No, but recessions bring a higher level of divorce.
I don't know. Is that true? Does it?
In my
Nima, is
world,
that
it's
true,
a
Nima? You know,
dynamic world.
you have all the percentages.
Yeah.
I would say that makes sense.
Right.
The thought makes sense.
The number one, this is actually a real thing, the number one cause of divorce is usually finances.
There you go.
Right? So, based off of that, logically speaking, if there's a recession and you're in financial trouble, it could probably lead to more fighting, and which would lead to
Bless
greater
you.
divorces.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you.
He's done
I
the
think
truth.
I think COVID was a culling, so I think most people got divorced already
Okay.
point.
because of COVID. I don't know. I'm making that
So
up.
anyone who didn't
I
get
got-
divorced during COVID will now get divorced because of the recession. Makes sense.
But keep in mind, divorce is a very legal process. So when two people get divorced, it doesn't mean that the house is going to come down at a discount.
It's not the same anymore, guys. So back in the day,
They're at
divorces
their
were
throat.
prime opportunities. Nowadays, courts will order what's called
They'll milk each other.
an appraisal.
Yeah.
Right. So now the court will set the price for what the property has to be listed for, which is based off of a appraisal and
Right.
market value. So sure, at that time it will be a little bit easier because you don't have to deal with certain things, or after you're in contract, you can mess around home inspection wise to get credits because they want to move forward. Sure, but it's not like it's gonna be off market like
Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
lower. Those days were more prevalent before.
Years ago.
Aw,
Yeah.
Nima, Michael wants you as his mentor. He says he needs you as his mentor.
Michael, you must hate your life.
Yeah, right?
Who wants to have anything
All right,
to do with
so-
I don't want to have anything to do with me.
That's
I hide the mirrors in my house.
All right, that's
Nah,
great.
just kidding. I look at them all the
So
time.
let's talk about these properties that we're buying right during this.
But Michael,
recession.
email me.
And these opportunities. Okay. Is it better to buy stuff that you're going to use as a rental property, or is it better to buy stuff that you're going to try to flip?
Rentals.
Rentals in a recession.
They're
I mean,
both good, but
rentals.
I'll say rentals because back in the great financial crisis, 2 years after that, right around 2012 and 2013, these homes that were cash flow positive, you could have bought homes right off the MLS that were cash flow positive. You can't do that. You couldn't have done that in the past 5 years. And every single home from that time at least doubled, if not tripled in value. So you could flip homes in a recession, but the thing is, house prices came down, so you won't get the maximum.
Got it. So
number.
you're saying you're better off buying it, renting it, and then you could sell it when the recession is over in
Or just hold on
6
to
months,
it. and
Nima, a
become
year?
Multi-millionaire.
No, 10 years.
10 years. When the recession is over in 10
The
years.
recession will end sooner, probably 2 year cycle, but we will not see sub 2% inflation rates for another decade. That is a statistical figure. It's a 10-year cycle. When you break the 5% inflation threshold, then it is a 10-year cycle back down to 2%. No matter, the Fed is trying to CPR it by raising rates, thinking that they're going to pull the brakes and lower inflation back down. It's not. Things have to take the natural course of things. Our Federal Reserve, our federal bank or whatever, they're a bunch of morons, idiots, who keep raising rates, thinking that they're
say
going to
that on
lower.
camera?
I just went and did
The
it.
opinions of whatever are not necessarily.
No, they are. Listen, if you're watching this, because I know you are, You're morons. You keep raising rates by killing the only the only commodity moving our economy, which was real estate, thinking that will curb inflation, and it won't. Inflation is rampant. Inflation is seen in our meats, in our delivery
And that's why you
process.
need to buy rental properties, because rent goes up, and inflation will create rentals.
It's not
to
even
go up.
that, guys. It's inflation proof.
back on the rental
You have a
properties.
purchase price, you have a mortgage price, and you have a rent return.
Yeah.
It's just making money on your money.
There you go.
But Danny, what do you think?
But-
You played yourself.
Rental properties. You
No,
buy
rental.
rental
No, I was
properties?
listening. I was
Are you
big
flipping
there.
or renting in this
So
market?
I'm a big time flipper. I sold
Right.
everything, but right now it's rentals. It's absolutely rentals.
Okay.
I've seen homes, obviously, for example, let's say the $500,000 homes. You see, they're a lot easier to sell. You have a higher target to target, But my thing is this. I see a lot of homes sitting on the market right now because of the high interest rate.
Yeah.
And I guess it's, people think automatically it's coming down because everybody's saying there's a crash coming, there's a crash. Back in 2019, I was doing a house, I remember, and they're like, man, you got to get it done quick because here comes a crash, which only went up higher and higher and higher. I look at it as this. Until I see the actual crash, I still work the way my numbers are, and I continue to keep going. But I truly believe buying now, and I'm not just saying buying rentals right now is the best thing to do. It has to make sense still, because I
Sure,
see
you
a
have to make
lot of
money.
people unloading their rentals. Deal that came across my desk the other day.
I'm biased.
No, it wasn't that great. A 5-unit out of Patterson. It was I forget the number, 7 something. But I start to do the math, and you realize it's like, all right, it doesn't make sense right now. I
Put
get
it
it.
on for 400.
I get it. Some people purchase it and they look more into the future. Okay, you know what? I'll start cash flowing.
Sure.
4 or 5 years from now, which a lot of people do.
Idiots.
It could be a great opportunity to start collecting properties to flip in 5 years.
Yeah. But I look at it like this. I feel people try to call your bluff. You know what? I'm going to put it up. It's one of those numbers that they list. I'm going to list it for 700 and see if I can get it, when technically the price should be around 6. But people are trying. And if you look, like I'm always looking on everything, you see 1 year it's 1.2 million. The next year it's down to 900. The next
Sure.
year, 3 years from now, it's back up to 1.5. It's, I guess it's a waiting game. But you
So-
pay the number that makes sense to you. I never follow. Not that saying, I mean,
No, you're dead right.
I don't want
People list for what they want. Doesn't mean it's worth it.
So So this is the way I work. I look at numbers, I look at houses, I look at rentals, flips, everything. I put it in my own brain. I analyze the numbers. If it makes sense for me,
Beep, beep, boop, boop, boop.
I purchase it. If it doesn't,
Set the sound.
No, I really-
Marlene,
Shit deal.
she wants to get in on the recession opportunity. And I love that, our students want to get in on the opportunity. But she wants to know, how does she start? How does she start out in real estate investing right now when we are going
Marlene,
into
question.
this
I want you to answer
recession?
this. Are you an opportunist or a predator?
Let's just
Look for
So,
opportunity.
so they're one and the same, right?
No, I want everybody to
So,
concede.
well, as far as starting out, that's what the part that we didn't cover yet. So, starting out in a recession is good because that's the only time you'll see values that are dropping, and you won't have as many people compete against the same property.
Good point.
Like what Danny just mentioned. So, if you're going to start out, we're not there yet, and we may not be there because Nima just mentioned people are locked in very low interest rates. So, a true recession is when people are forced to sell because they're having financial trouble, and when that happens, the deals are going to start coming. If that doesn't happen, there's still deals to be made because people go through trouble.
Save your cash. Look for opportunities
Save your
to
Keep your
take
gun powder.
advantage of seller financing, things of that nature.
Yeah. So the opportunities come up once people face crisis, and whether you want to call that predatory or opportunist, it's different.
So what I've learned from you guys, right, is what you just said, save your cash, right? You have to Marlene, you have to get yourself ready. You just can't be like, okay, I want to do this now. And be patient. These guys always talk about waiting for the right opportunity. Just don't hop in because you're like, oh, I want to do this. No, be that cat that's laying in wait, right? And then you're going to pounce on the right opportunity. Am I right or wrong?
Don't get hit by a car while you're out on a stroll.
Yeah, I've
Am I
actually.
right or wrong,
Yeah, I want to
though?
give a good example. So real estate is like the trend right now for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been, I guess, because of social media, podcasts, everything else. So people are just
Yeah,
willing to
podcasts.
jump right in.
Yeah.
Jump right in, and I've seen people jump right in without knowing what they're doing.
Or having their money
Many
back.
times.
I've seen people, we're talking real estate, but stock market, this, everything else. What was it? The Bitcoin and everybody was a trader. And then all of a sudden, everybody's quiet because now they lost.
They lost
Well,
everything.
traders,
everything
you bunch of
It's
goddamn
okay to jump
morons.
in after
It's okay.
you educate yourself.
Yeah, but there's the thing. People on social media are telling people, go buy, who cares? Buy everything, house hack. But you have to make sense, and the numbers have to make sense. If you're purchasing this home to house hack, even anything I buy, right now, you see the
What
cars.
is a house hack?
A house hack is
Stay
basically-
tuned for me and Danny's podcast.
It's when you live in the house and then you rent
and then you rent it. So I've seen house hacking on single families.
We had a whole episode on
House hack it. Yeah, we did.
We
Actually,
did.
I was on that
Yeah,
episode.
I'm like, we had a whole
Okay,
thing on
so
house
quick
hack.
I must not
example.
have been here.
You get an FHA loan for 3-family. You move in. A lot of times these guys move in the basement, rent all 3 floors, house hack it. They live for free plus positive cash.
That's called house hack.
House hack,
All right,
yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah,
so actually, this is a great point. So
Don't house hack with 3 or 4 kids because it's not easy to move
too-
them.
it's too
You're
crazy.
supposed to house hack it,
As a
you know,
single.
as
When
a
you're young.
single
As
or
a bow wow.
young couple.
Actually, that's a great thing. I
Don't move
tell
your
people to
girlfriends
do that
into
all
the
the time. But we just talked about how you use your brain computer with Nima's noises
Oh, yeah.
of
Beep, boop,
testing.
boop, beep,
So
boop.
one of the big things to do.
Deal or no deal?
Hey, one of the most important things to do is do a stress test on what you're buying. So let's talk about how you stress test out what you're going to buy. So I know all of us have our own version of what a stress test is.
Like run different scenarios.
So-
No, you take like a hammer and you hit the outside. If you notice cracking in the
let's-
building,
in like 30 seconds or less, Nima, give us what your stress test is on how you're going to buy something.
I'm always stressed out. I don't have a stress test.
No, how do you run scenarios? How do you figure out
Are you
like
stressed? What's your
Yeah.
stress test? Like, what numbers do you check? What do you want
Yeah.
to turn? Like, da 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 da. Use your little.
Oh, I don't want people on the podcast to know my formula.
what's your
All right,
formula?
that's private
Very
information.
simple, guys. It's not a stress test. It's whatever you want to call it. We like to call it basic math, right?
Stress
Yeah.
test.
You take you take what you're putting down, what your debt is, what your expenses are with a vacancy rate, what your cost, then you know your costs, then you take your current income. Don't be one of these momos who's like, well, I can raise the rent on all the apartments and then it'll be worth it. It'll be a great deal. No, okay? Take it for what it is at today. If you do it, it'll be a better deal. But if you have to make it a good deal by convincing yourself about something that hasn't happened yet, no.
Then
Use the
have it,
actual numbers, put it at the end, and I look at what is my return on my money because my money has value. If I
Thank you. That was your 30 seconds. Omar, 30 seconds.
So as far as a stress test when it comes to rentals, what I do is
30 seconds?
what most people don't preach, especially on YouTube and these podcasts, is when you buy a rental, you have to have reserves from that rental. And I've seen posts saying that buy a rental and have a rental for your car, make $500 a month. If you make $500 on a rental, use it towards a car payment. I think that's ridiculous because your initial year may just go towards saving up reserves, and that's your stress test. You should be able to have enough reserves so that you can cover any unexpected expenses that come from the rental. And typically, the number I'd put on that is $7,000 to $8,000. So that's my stress test. If something goes wrong, if the HVAC breaks, if it needs a new roof, the money that I spend on that property should come from that property. I shouldn't have to take it out of my other
Omar,
income.
what percentage would you say of your rent? So let's say your average rent roll is $40,000 a year net. What
Yeah.
percentage would you say should be your reserves?
Average is $40,000 a year. So percentage-wise, I don't know, but I'd use the number 7,000 to 8,000 just because.
Universally, that to you is a good cushion.
Yeah, just because if the HVAC goes wrong and goes bad in the middle of the winter, and depending, if I put in a new HVAC, the reserves could be lower.
Is that 7,000 or 8,000 plus a couple mortgage payments?
Wait, so
Or
what
is
That
that
includes
seven?
mortgage
That
payments too.
includes your mortgage
Yeah,
payment.
so that
what if your
does.
mortgage payment is 7,000 a month?
I mean, then you probably wouldn't be taking advice from me if that's your rental
Yeah, you never
net
know.
positive
You never know.
on the rental. But no, if it's 7,000 a month, just increase it. If it's 7,000 a month, that means that your capital expense will be signifiantly higher if something goes wrong.
Okay, Danny, what's your stress test?
Okay, so
30 seconds.
30 seconds. He had 2 minutes. No. I'm kidding. All right. So my example is a 3-family home.
He needs more time.
Omar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
So here we go. A 3-family home. I always looked at rents. Obviously, I think $500 an apartment to start out for someone who's new in the industry. But I believe that $1,500 a month you're making positive income, you should save everything the first year. This is an investment, and you have to. For me, being a contractor, my main thing is repairs. God forbid the boiler breaks. People don't understand it costs $6,000-$7,000 to repair a boiler.
Yeah.
So I always say that first year you can save $15,000. Save it. If you have a job already and you're just starting out, you don't need that extra money. Stop wasting it. Have reserves, and then eventually refi. My thing is this: I don't believe in refi and cashing out. I believe refi, lower your rates, you start getting more income. That way, in 30 years, your kids take over this property and it's constantly cash flowing. So that's
Good. Thank you.
What-
Hold on. Why stress test?
Oh yeah, stress.
Hold on,
Yeah,
Eric,
calls
go.
Omar.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
I like
Okay.
to make 10% of whatever it is, and I want to have at least 6 months of mortgage payments.
Wow.
And
6
if I could do
months?
both of those, then I'm good. How's that?
6 months of mortgage.
You're done?
That's a lot.
I want to be able to cover 6 months.
Yeah.
But
That's
you know what? It was
good.
funny. I was gonna say 6 months, I swear, but I had too much on my mind. My brain's all over the place. Still
Yeah, that's
calculating
a
Nemo's
good-
numbers.
There you go.
But 6 months, and I agree with Eric. Let's just say, the first month or two, things aren't going right. 3-4 months pass by, and you're like, I'm still in a situation. Now you still have time. You don't have to stress yourself out. You still have 2 more months of mortgage payments, but now you should be on the ball. By
Right.
month 4, now you give yourself only 3 months. Nobody really reacts in the first month. That's how I see it. Everybody's like, oh, I'll be fine. Another month passed. Oh, it's okay. Me, I like to attack things day one. So that 6 months, I'm pretty sure you start the clock and you're like,
And not
I'm
only
a,
that,
I'm a
if you
procrastinator, so it depends on the
If you-
scenario.
so I'm gonna be on you, Eric. You have 45 days.
You
That's it.
should be like that on day one. Like Nima, if you don't do something for him on day one, you're dead. So that's
But like if you lose a tenant, that
Am I-
makes
am I
sense. Then
impatient?
you're not.
Oh,
like,
no,
you're
because-
not-
Yeah, I am impatient.
People are like, oh, well, I'm not losing money. Well, technically, you are losing money. 'Cause
Right.
Let's say
Yes.
that tenant was bringing you another $1,000 cash flow. God forbid something happens. Now you're losing it. You're still losing $1,000 a month. I'm not saying a rush to get somebody in there. Obviously, do it the right way. Run credit, background, make sure, and don't lower your standards. I see some people go from a month and a half security. Oh, it's okay. You can pay me security month by month.
Never, ever do that. If they're not paying you all that money up front,
Yeah.
you're gonna get chumped.
Pass.
I've seen the judge tear apart the landlords for accepting portions of the rent. Why did you take 2 months to put the eviction paperwork in? My motto is this: day 1, rent is due. Day 5, it's late. Day 10,
I'm fucking you
I'm
up.
in there. See, I don't curse as much as Nima, but he's absolutely, day 10, I have court eviction papers in there already. Because
Wow.
by the time 3 weeks goes by, you have a court date for the
Day
and it's
tear gas.
$52.
So let's just touch on that really quick. So Nima is one extreme. Danny is middle. I'm probably the opposite end. I'm very flexible, but what I've learned over the
See you in
20
6
years
months.
is never give anyone flexibility unless there's some massive unexplained reason. And even then, you should still file the paperwork because you can always withdraw the paperwork. You can always tweak it. But getting that paperwork filed on day 10 is the right way to be a landlord.
And you get it filed day 10.
I had a startup that I stopped it during COVID. It's called SpeedyEvict.com. And it was basically evict.com. And it was designed that you as a landlord can go and put in your information. On day 6, you would get an email saying, hey, did you get your rent? They said no. They already had all the information populated. It would hit one button. You paid a flat fee and it would file it.
Wow.
We need that.
it's time to bring
We
it
need that back.
Listen,
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
tenants are
let's
going to
bring
pay
back
your
Speedy
filing fee anyway because you charge a late fee.
So it only if it's marked as additional rent within your lease. Well, we should have actual whole podcast.
Does that Speedy Evict still work in your firm?
No.
Okay.
No.
I didn't think so.
I have to say though, when we're
Separate
talking about
company.
the stress test and we're talking about the numbers and all of that good stuff, Omar does teach a class called BRRRR. Buy,
cold in here.
rehab,
Cool, that's why I
rent,
brought my sweater
refinance.
today.
Got some Toros in the atmosphere.
Guys, BRRRR, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Okay, BRRRR.
Except don't refinance right now.
So, but
So
here's
BRRRR-
the
Take out
deal.
one,
Yeah,
one of
one
the
R.
R's. Burr with an X.
If you need to cash out, if you're spending all cash,
And if you buy it at the
even
right
at
price.
8%, if you're getting a rate of 8%, that's just like hard
still
money. It could still make sense to
Yeah.
refinance. It just depends
Guys,
on the situation.
we haven't seen, our generation hasn't seen interest rates this high for quite some time, and they're just going to keep going up. So,
Well, we saw it back in 2009, 10.
like I said,
around
our
there.
generation hasn't seen.
Are you calling me old?
No, but even then, even in 2009,
the
they
old
never
one
hit
at the
7%.
Yeah, they didn't hit 7%.
No,
It didn't
guys.
hit 7%?
Guys,
Okay.
you have all these sellers who are like, I saw an advertisement. I think I sent it to you, and I trolled them. I called the agent. So stupid. 5%, 5 cap, moron. Interest rate 7%. Why are you advertising a 5 cap? Yeah, I'm going to buy this guy's property to lose 2% a month. Like, were you
What'd he
born
say?
stupid, or
What'd
did
he
you
say?
develop that
What'd he
way?
say? What'd he say?
He didn't respond.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't expect him to respond, but I want him to know that the world is not stupid. So a lot of you guys are going to realize the things you've learned, the techniques that you see that are these like quintessential techniques, that's not going to work anymore. We're going straight old school 1990s hood real estate buying style. Right? You need to put a lot of cash down because money's not cheap anymore. And if you have, back in the day, a 10 cap was a unicorn. Now you need a 10 cap because if you don't get 10% on your money, you can't cover your debt.
Yep.
So guys, the game has changed. And this is where you're going to see a fluctuation because with higher interest rates, sellers are demanding, 5% on your money is great. It's better. You always hear it's better than the bank. Do anything, your shoebox is better than the bank. All right? You're getting money from the bank. They give you 0.001% and then charge you $30 a month
So
to manage your account.
Is Burr dead?
No, Burr's not dead. It's
Two in the back of the head.
You just need to get your properties at a deeper discount to have it make sense.
There's always opportunities, regardless of what anything is. It's
Yeah.
just figuring
Only
out what it is.
podcast giving people the real is the remix, right? The rest of these BS things that you guys, I shouldn't say it, I don't get sued for defamation. In my opinion, the rest of these things that you guys see about like, look at this method. Guys, in the last 2 years, a monkey that went around like this could make money off of real estate, right? Like, buy and sell higher. No shit. It's not a scientific method that if you buy something and the market's insane and there's a shortage, you can just make up a price and somebody else will pay for it. That doesn't require any technique. That doesn't mean you know real estate or you understand the fundamentals of flipping. And these techniques, which are phenomenal and great that were developed over the last decade, like the Burr method and other methods, are phenomenal methods that work.
So we
But
should be looking for other methods?
we should be looking for basic methods. The greatest real estate method that's ever been created was called math, right? You just take the purchase price.
So now that we're on math,
Yeah.
right? Let's talk about math.
Omar's texting all his friends.
Should you be watching your expenses more so now when it comes to looking at those investment properties as which ones to buy and where could you cut a cost on an investment property? If you're going to buy, let's say, a multifamily that came on the market, and how would you tweak that and cut some expenses to make more money? Any ideas?
If you have to cut expenses to make money, you've already lost. You already lost.
Okay, but we can say that, but then that doesn't help people. So if they need to, how can we triage people?
You can't triage, but you can't cut an expense because you don't know what the expense will be. The contractor can raise his prices, can lower it. That's a variable you have no control over.
What about cutting expenses that don't have anything to do with, that aren't bringing in ROI? Like
Then it's not an expense.
Yeah.
Then what are you cutting?
There's ways to cut expenses. You could cut the trash expense. You could cut your super expense. You could cut your cleaning expense. So let's say
Well, you're gonna get a cheaper cleaning lady?
Yeah, you could clean it yourself.
or get it once a week instead of twice a
You
week.
could-
or-
you could-
Like I said, if you have to cut that expense to make your project make sense, you've already lost.
Yeah.
If you have to fire your cleaning lady so you can make it make sense,
Fire.
okay, cut her hours. You're talking about a couple $100 a month.
Yeah.
If you're at that point, I still stand behind what I said. You're done. You're out. You can't cut your expenses, guys. You can, but you can't expect to make a bad project good by cutting expenses. You can't expect to make a bad project good by raising rents.
Right. So you shouldn't go into an investment thinking that you're going to cut expenses.
And there's
But if you already
exceptions. Some
have
stuff
one.
are just given.
Then you
that
just
you can do that.
You could cut your profits. Is what you could do.
No, but what if you already have a building?
Bad investment?
Right? Yes. Okay, I'll even give you that it's a bad
Sell it to
investment.
me on the cheap.
So you have
There
it,
goes
and
the
you
hook.
want to triage it because you want to hold it.
Just figure it out. Take money from somewhere else and put it into your losing asset.
Wait, you mean buy it and you want to hold it instead of sell
No,
it?
you already have it.
Okay.
You already have it,
So you
and
hold
now
it?
you need to. You're holding it, but you want it to make
so
money.
let's go over some ideas. One idea, okay, let's say you have a multifamily building where the tenants are slowly turning over, but you have one water meter and one gas meter. There could be a way you could separate meters out. I know it's a little bit of money out of pocket, but if you separate those meters
Best
out,
decision you ever make as a landlord.
and that
Best
could
decision
help you
ever make.
reduce
Yeah.
your expenses.
If the town allows it, yeah.
Best decision. Most towns will. There's very few.
Jersey
that don't.
City-
So they know what we're talking about.
Really?
Let's
Yeah.
should we use
Damn,
something
bro.
like
Sucks.
a 15 unit building, let's say.
Right.
So they can understand a little bit more. So we have a 15 unit building where we're not really cash flowing on it.
Right.
It's an older property, I guess. Or,
Correct.
Okay. And like you said, one water meter. Well, water usually the landlord pays the thing, but let's just say that the landlord pays the gas, or let's say they pay the heat. I would start by separating. Obviously, you're going to have to put into this property.
I'd start by cutting the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would do the meters. I would do a gas meter for each apartment and have them paying their own utilities. I get it. You're coming out of pocket. You might be coming out of pocket 20, 30, 40 grand, but eventually it's going to pay itself back because they're paying for
Cut
that
your
part.
monthly expenses.
Second thing is I've seen people, a lot of guys try to evict everybody, not evict them, but have everybody move out and do a full renovation on the building.
Yeah.
Do an apartment at a time. Now the second you get that tenant who's been there for 25 years, where they're only paying for a 2-bedroom only $1,400-1,500, you redo that apartment. Now you might be getting $2,500 a month. So constantly, so slowly. I don't see anything that's going to shoot it up right away. But our whole thing is this 15 unit is a long-term building. I fear keep it. Work on it slowly, and then obviously you're going to start cash flowing a lot higher. And
You could-
that's
That's 100% right.
We all have kids.
That's
most of us
100%
have
right.
kids.
It's you slow and steady. You rebuild it and you
that's it.
increase it, but it's not an overnight thing.
Sure, you could also look at your lighting. So let's say you still have halogen light bulbs in your building. You could switch those out to LED lights.
Absolutely.
But these are capital improvements, guys. That if you're already in a bad investment and you're
Yeah.
tight and you're trying to save money,
We're
you're talking about putting real money into this project right now.
And you'll have
So
to
you
do a
have to
capital
work it
call.
up. Yeah,
It's just
okay.
you're not going to have a
It all
better
depends-
investment.
It all depends on the situation. But when you are in a recession looking for ways to save, look at these things that you normally wouldn't look at. Look at your gas bill. Look at your
mean,
electric
but
bill.
Can I disagree.
Look at the lighting.
I do too.
I agree with Danny.
Okay.
So here's the thing though, because
Omar, why do you disagree?
because if you're looking to save expenses, you're gonna have to have a major capital expense to start with. Just to
Changing
save
light
money.
bulbs is not always a major
But it's not gonna
expense.
save much money.
Changing a
$33
thermostat is not
a
always a major
thir-
expense.
It's not. But
Just disagree. $33 is what it costs at Home Depot for your cheapest grade LED replacement, plus $20 to install your $53, and each apartment will have a minimum of 20. So you're talking about thousands of dollars per apartment, even to go LED.
It depends on.
And a bulb
if
is
you're changing the
$6.
bulbs in the hallway. If you're changing the bulbs in the apartments,
And
that's two
the
different scenarios.
kilowatt difference was you're talking about like 3 cents a month to it.
I would agree with that,
Statistically
yeah.
speaking, it takes a year and a half to make your money back on an LED
Yeah.
light bulb.
And
But we're
secondly,
talking about cutting
but if we're
expenses.
cutting expenses on a property that you already own,
Why
if
did
you
you
own
go
it,
in?
yeah, why'd you
why
go
did
in? It should
at
already
that?
be
Yeah.
cash flow positive. So what expense are you
I
looking
think
at?
Omar and you
people-
aren't saying different things, but you're saying cut an expense, but Omar's saying it's not cutting an expense if you spend more today.
Yeah, because you'll need to invest
Depends
significant
on the
amount.
situation.
And it's created-
You could also look for spaces in the building that are not being used. Let's say you have a basement. Add
Rent it out.
Add
Fuck it.
storage facilities. create storage units in your basement and look for ways.
So-
to
so
You're
the-
right,
I would
absolutely.
agree that
I've
those-
seen
But
guys
that's
talk
not cutting an
about
expense, right?
Yeah,
That's adding
true.
value.
adding value. Yeah.
So I think if you're stuck with a property that you need to cut expenses on, you're losing to begin with, and you shouldn't have gotten into the property. But if that's the case, it doesn't have anything to do with the recession. Recession is not going to make you lose
Guys,
money.
cut expenses,
Okay.
not on your investment, because if you're nickeling and diming your investment, you're already out.
Yeah.
Cut it in your life. Stop
gonna
going to
move on.
Starbucks.
That too.
Don't
Yeah.
buy $6
We're
coffee.
gonna move
Sell
on.
your
We're gonna
car.
move on.
Right, absolutely.
No,
Start
but-
to add it up.
Yeah.
Sell your
$5.
car.
Yeah.
Or make more money.
Cut your life expenses and focus on your investment, because that's at least you're building equity every month, right?
So we're talking about all this great stuff about cutting, right? So let's talk about this. Expectations. Okay? So should we cut our expectations? Should we focus on short-term goals for long-term gains, or should we be still focusing on long-term? What are your thoughts on that? Is it easier to take in a recession to take the goals and just make them shorter? Like, what am I going to accomplish in the next 6 months? How am I going to make this
Can I go
happen?
here real quick? Why I have a
Why you
pressure?
asking me
Okay.
permission, Dan?
All
All right.
Because you're the
Boy,
boss over here. You're the bully. You're the
What's
shark.
going on?
Jump in.
What's going on?
So now this is the thing. It can go either way. Everybody has their own plan. I say every deal, every person, everybody's individual. Me, I think different now. So I look at everything as a long-term game right now. So I have 3 kids, and my plan is to leave everything to them, so they have
You're still like 30.
Yeah,
Where are you
I'm 30,
going?
yeah.
Doesn't
No,
matter, bro,
but
'cause he's
you know
playing
what?
chess when everyone else is
Really?
playing
You're
checkers.
30?
I'm 30.
You're 30 today.
Is that really?
No,
Look at his beard.
I'm 41.
Oh, okay. Forget it.
30-year-old's beard.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had a kid in high school. He had a great beard at like 18.
That sucks.
So wait, what were,
So my
what were
thing
you
is
saying?
that. So my thing is this,
Dark
and
that
and I've
story,
seen
bro.
that from a bunch of different cultures. I've seen guys come in.
Cultures. The Puerto Ricans suck. Quick.
I've seen guys come in, purchase a building. For example, it's one building in Paris, and I'm like, wow, he overpaid for that.
Okay.
And I'm like, it doesn't make sense. I guess they're looking for the
The
future.
long-term
Yeah.
game.
But let me tell you, now I revisit it to this day, and that was about 7-8 years ago. I'm like, wow, he's the guy who won. Because now that building's worth $4 or $5 million more than when he bought it. He overpaid when he bought it. I'm like, this is a crap overpaid building. But was I the one was wrong? Because now I'm looking at it different. I'm like, wow. You know, because the guy, it was a whole. Let me
So
tell you,
his short-term goal was to get that building.
his short-term goal was to get the building, but his long-term goal was to hold on to it and never sell.
What are we really talking about here, guys? Do you want to be rich or do you want to be wealthy? That's what we're really talking about.
I think rich is short-term. That's my
Yeah.
thing.
You want to be rich? Buy, sell, take that money, go buy a watch, go get a nice car, and then you're broke again next year. You got to keep rinsing and repeat.
Yep.
You want to be wealthy? Don't worry
Lasts
about it.
forever. It
Buy
lasts
it.
forever.
Hold it. Think 20, 30 years from now. Think what you're going to leave your
Not
children.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the greatest example, I know is basketball sports star players. Guys who make 30, 40, 100 million. Mike Tyson, the greatest example, has made so much money, lived a life, but he only thought short term for a quick
Well,
five.
didn't he get divorced too?
Yeah.
No, he
Listen.
raped the chick, allegedly.
Oh.
Allegedly.
But then there's guys who have a good example. I'm sorry. I just like to give
No,
examples.
Mike Tyson's probably the best one. He made $1 billion
Mike
and he was dead broke.
Yeah,
He
dead broke.
spent $1 billion.
And you can even take the worst situation, and I know everything falls back with me. Everything falls back on real estate. But there's this WNBA coach right now. Her whole career, she only might have made $600,000-700,000. A WNBA player.
Really? Really? Really?
But
Really?
so listen,
Really?
she played. She put in the time.
Right.
Now she's a coach making $2, $3, $4 million a year. So now
the WNBA?
So now she's cashing in on her
Did
investment.
she buy real estate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's
She
making
bought
$50
herself,
million
yeah.
a year.
But I look at it like this. Anything you buy is always going to get better. You just have to buy it at the right number.
And I agree with you. I started investing 20 years ago. I bought in areas that were a crappy market. And
It's not nice to see anybody talk about Hackensack.
But I think that's true. You had vision, though. You saw a vision for Hackensack. I mean, we've talked about.
I had opportunities. I saw an area. I
Eric saw the
invested in
sack
it,
and he knew.
and
I'm just saying, though.
it has paid off for me.
Hackensack is very
10
different
years
than
later.
it was
It may or may
10
not
years
be
ago.
Hackensack.
I don't think he was talking about
But,
Hackensack. That was
in
just funny
general,
that now everyone's convinced that he
I'm
was.
disagreeing with the long term. Buy for the long term. That's how you create wealth, and it is generational wealth when you do it that way. You know, you may still struggle on your way up, but your kids won't.
Hey guys, I gotta say also, all of you guys watching this podcast, stop worrying about what other people do. There's a frame that says, "What you eat don't make me shit," right? So look at what you want out of life and what you want to get, and do it that way, right? Don't look at what someone else is eating because it has nothing to do with your digestive system. Figure out what you want to eat and what you want to come out.
A lot of times people
Or
are
where
doing
you
things.
want it to come out.
Where
A
you
lot of
wanted
times
to
people
have-
are doing things and they're not actually doing it. They're just telling you how to do it.
That's it.
Like I've seen,
Yeah.
go invest in Texas. You don't own anything in Texas. So
Yeah.
how are
Yeah.
you telling
Right.
somebody to
We've
go?
talked about
Yeah.
that. We've talked about that.
I've never.
Do you tell people off who tell you that stuff?
I should.
No.
We're gonna go live and you're gonna tell them off for me.
Guys, I want everyone to know this new thing I'm doing. I just say exactly how I feel. And if
Is
you
that
look at
new?
That's new.
Does it make
Yeah.
you feel better though?
yes.
You taught me that last
Wait,
week. Actually, you
wait.
told me.
It's amazing.
You did.
Yeah, you were curbing what you were saying before.
Oh yeah, watch our earlier podcasts. 100%.
So let's talk
I
about
agree with
let's
that.
talk about that statement for a second. I 100% agree. Only listen to people that have done it, and if they're telling you to invest in Tennessee, they should own a ton of property
Dude, the
there.
best is the dude in his 60s or 70s who's a loser and wants to give his stupid ass opinion to everyone who wants to hear it. I'm just saying this because I know someone in this range, right? It could be another person. It's like, yo, shut up.
No one
Stop
in this
giving
room.
us your opinion. Because if you had a really, really good opinion, you'd be executing it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you would be successful. Now, if I ask you for your opinion, because you're someone who has executed and has accomplished it, thank you for taking the time to spend your valuable time to
Right.
educate me.
Yes.
There's a difference. If people volunteer their opinions to you, they're two things, right? They're just really nice and close to you, want the best for you, or they don't know what the hell they're talking about, and they just love to talk and hear themselves talk, right?
I
Like,
think the saying is, if you're going to take advice from someone who's in the arena and not who's a spectator.
Well said.
Ah,
That's exactly
I like
how I
that.
feel, and that's what I tell everybody. And I'm
trying to find a way to make that more vulgar and funny.
All right. Anyway, so let's talk about another thing you could do right now during the recession. Invest in technology, invest in yourself, invest in education,
Yes.
learn tricks, talk to people.
Oh wait, did you say invest in education?
I did.
So press subscribe. mash that button, the subscribe button, okay? And come to recareercenter.com because that's where you're going to get to learn from Omar right here.
Speaking of, I just got a text from one of our students.
Damn.
And I'll read it because it has to do with the recession. During the recession, people don't know what to do with their money because they don't want to invest in the stock
to me.
market. And there's not many
Don't give it to
alternative
Nima.
investments. So people look for investments in real estate. And this student just said, fast forward to it.
Omar, your
can
rugged
we-
good looks
Can
really
we
demonstrates.
Can we talk more about the development stuff? I'm ready to invest $30,000. Now he's saying that because he's someone who works a full-time job. He saved up last time we spoke $120,000.
Wow.
And
Good for
he
you.
asked me what he should do with it. And I said, look, if you want to become active in real estate, you could start doing flips and put your money towards that. But $120,000 won't be enough, generally.
Invest that money in a fund like
In a
Omar
fund.
talks about.
Yes. So we
Yes.
have a capital group, and people who don't want to play an active role in investing their money, they put it into a capital group, and we put that towards our development.
And they can still learn without
Yes.
the without.
Why
the
does that
actual
make
doing.
sense?
because
why
they
does
get
it make
passive
sense?
Why does it make
investments and passive returns.
But most importantly, guys, developments skip sometimes cycles. So to get a development approved takes a year and a half.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the development that's about to break ground has been approved a year and a half ago. By the time they start and finish construction, it's about
years.
2 years out.
Yeah.
That means when it's reopening will be when the economy is turning back around. So if you time yourself and you get in at the right development, don't be afraid to invest in a development when the economy is beginning to crash.
Yes.
Because when that comes out of development, that's when you'll be seeing it shine.
Yeah.
Right? So don't be afraid to get in. Be more afraid to get into the ones that are in the process of completing that are going to be open in the middle of the crash. But the ones that are just starting, it's a great time to get into development, not residential flips. Take that money you made, selling a bunch of houses off of that idiot you got advice from on Reddit, right? And you have a couple bucks in your bank account right now. Invest it in a development
Well
project.
said, Nima. Well said.
But I
And
think that's really what you said. Invest
Yes.
in education and invest in yourself.
Yes,
right.
invest in yourself.
And this person
Yeah.
who just texted him right now is literally like took a class, was investing in themselves, in their own education, learned something, and now is going to actually do it.
Yes,
Good job, Omar.
And one of the most important things for people that do have investment properties, make sure you know your tenants. Make sure you're ahead of
Yeah.
the game with them. Make sure you know who's living in your units. Make sure you know what retail tenants you have. Gauge what's going on in their lives and try to stay ahead of any potential issues. If they need some help with a deferment, or if you feel they're going to go out of business, you could start advertising early. Get on top of them. Understand what you're dealing with.
Come on, bro.
Let's get last words.
There you
Yeah,
go.
give it to
I
us.
want
What
to
do you
hear
think?
last words about surviving as an investor the recession, as a real estate investor.
Recession
the
proofing your
recession.
real estate investment business. Last word,
Right,
Omar.
Last word.
I think recessions are the time people get rich in real estate. And if you're looking to get into it now, now's the time to start finding deals and finding people who have money and want to invest that money into deals. If you're already in it, continue doing what you're doing. And find people who have good development projects where you can invest money in, and speak to your network. If they have money sitting in the bank account, their 401ks, everyone who gets burned in the stock market likes to turn to real estate, and now's a good time to do it.
There you go. Danny.
I'm lost. No, I'm kidding. All right. What was
Last
the topic
word.
again? I
Last
was
word. How to recession-proof your real estate investment business. Your last
Okay.
word. 5 seconds.
10 seconds. Okay, so this is my thing, guys. Hold on to your cash. Hold your cash right now. If you don't know how to flip, if you don't know how to buy rentals, educate yourself and make sure that you're learning from the right people. Watch this podcast every week. The Find Fun Flip class. I have a construction class. I'm not saying that. We just tell you the real. They say someone who curses 50% of the time is the most honest person in the room.
46.
All right. So,
All right,
Mr.
so
Honest person.
hold your cash. You know, we're not magicians. We can't predict anything, but I see something coming soon. I see where you're going to be able to purchase, and you do need cash. Like you said, someone
And
had
it's
a
going to be an opportunity.
All right, Danny. Thank you. Nima, last words.
Y'all ready for this?
No.
Y'all ready?
All right, guys.
Can I record it?
Yeah, this will be funny. Ready?
Here we go.
Guys, stupid is what stupid does. Forrest Gump. All right? We're going into a recession. So if you do stupid things, if you want to flip houses and think that you're going to ride this wave, right? You know what the outcome's going to be. In this current market, you need to invest not to become rich, but to become wealthy. You need to put your money into properties that you can get that are undervalued, that will give you a high return on your investment, and that you can park. Not that you can use a method to refinance, pull your money out. The game has changed, right? Don't do stupid things and you won't be considered stupid. Make smart investments, Make smart decisions. Make your money on the buy. Sit and ride this recession out and count your money to the bank when it's over.
Thank you, Nima. And my 2 cents, don't be afraid to make offers. Do your research, do your education, learn what's going on, learn what's happening out there, and go make 100 offers, and maybe you'll get one. Don't be afraid to go in $50,000 below asking. Don't be afraid to make ridiculous seller financing requests. Just go out and try it.
Shout out to Mike Sloan watching us right now.
Anyway,
My
so
man.
remember, keep trying, and if you visualize it, you can make it happen.
All right.
So
we'll
see you next
week.
time.
Bye, guys.